And I want to let everybody know we are not going to rest until we verify every individual in this incident is in custody.
New tonight, Aurora's police chief following through on a promise he made earlier today. This new video showing 5 more people being detained in connection with a kidnapping that happened last night. The victims beaten, tortured, and now recovering from their injuries. Good evening, and thank you for choosing Denver 7 tonight. I'm Jessica Porter.
I'm Shannon Ogden. So that attack happened at the Edge of Lowry apartments, the same apartments that have brought unwanted attention to Aurora from, well, really across the country. It's the place where Donald Trump and others claimed a notorious Venezuelan gang called Tren de Aragua had taken over the apartments and taken over the city after this video that showed armed men knocking on doors and roaming the hallways made the rounds on cable news. Aurora Police Chief Todd Chamberlain says the victims in last night's attack were confronted by gangsters, tied up, then taken to a nearby apartment building. And he describes what happened to them.
The victims were held against their will. They were actually bound, both the male and the female. They were pistol whipped, they were beat, they were victimized, they were terrorized.
There are 19 people who have now been detained as part of this investigation, and police haven't said what the reason for the attack was. Now, the chief did say the people involved are from Venezuela, but he also added it's too early to tell if they are members of Tren de Aragua.
The victims are a man and a woman. They were let go when they promised not to call police, but they bravely made that call anyway. Denver 7's Christian Lopez spoke with the man about what he experienced.
I'm at the police headquarters in Aurora, and I've actually been in contact with one of the victims who was attacked at the Edge of Lowry on Monday night. He's a man who we've interviewed at that complex in the past. He's been at the hospital all day. He was too shaken up to speak with us on camera, but he said he was going to be physically okay. As far as what he's been through, he's still processing all of that. We know that time is running out for the tenants who live in that building after it was announced that that building is going to shut down soon. And while we were out there on the scene, we did see some people who were already packing up their belongings and getting ready to head out. Reporting from Aurora, I'm Christian Lopez, Denver 7.
And Aurora police aren't sure of the documentation status of the victims, but they are praising them for calling 911, not knowing what would happen next.
Denver 7's Colette Bordelon sat down with an immigration attorney who explained the protections that victims have no matter their immigration status.
No necesitas hablar con la policía.
The Edge of Lowry apartments
No necesitas hablar.
is a crime scene Tuesday,
Okay.
where V. Reeves has been since police said there was an armed home invasion and kidnapping.
Otra vez los nombres.
Reeves is an organizer with House Keys Action Network Denver who wants to inform immigrants living here of their rights.
There are 2 types of information that they can be asked, their name and their date of birth.
Earlier Tuesday,
They were actually bound.
Aurora Police
They were beat.
detailed what happened.
They were terrorized.
The chief, Todd Chamberlain, says the 2 victims in this case were Venezuelan immigrants.
Like many gangs and many individuals involved in this type of activity, they victimize their own race and their own ethnicity. They know that they can do things to them that they couldn't do to anybody else in the community based upon their fear of what the ramifications would be if law enforcement gets involved in that.
But those 2 people called 911.
The fact that they stepped forward, I think it shows again the incredible amount of courage that they had. We will not allow the victimization of our community members, again, whether documented or undocumented, to occur.
We don't want to go backwards into the 20th century where immigrants were afraid just to call the police.
Arturo Jimenez is an immigration attorney
Probably 1/3 of all my clients are U visa applicants now.
who explained what a U visa is, something those 2 immigrants may be eligible for.
It's a victim's visa that the law enforcement community pushed Congress to pass to help them investigate, capture, and convict criminals to make us all safer.
Aurora police tell me some of the people detained were taken to ICE.
That tells me that there is some cooperation between police in terms of turning people over based on their immigration status.
We are holding them accountable in whatever manner or fashion that takes.
Ellos pueden pedir, pero ustedes tienen derechos.
With the Edge of Lowry apartments still at the center of a national conversation. In Aurora, Colette Bordelon, Denver 7.